Game on.
This is Travis MCP, and you're watching Glen's Retro Show on YouTube. Game on.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's edition of Glen's Retro Show. Well, recently I did a little review of the PC Engine Core Grafx Mini, and I am actually really enjoying this. I never had the PC Engine or the Core Grafx. Now this is obviously a little bit smaller than the real deal, but not by much, maybe 10-20% smaller, that's it. And I do like the design of it. I do feel that the controller itself, the joypad is a little bit on the stiff side. I definitely had some characters die because it feels like you really got to press a little bit harder than you would normally, but I'm hoping that'll work out with a lot of gameplay, which I am giving it. But I do like the design, the interface, the game selection. You have some English games and some Japanese games. The only negative I can really give, I guess, would be when they have the Japanese games on here that are like an RPG and they're not translated. It's like a game that's not even there. But the games are still very fun, and I am enjoying this. Now, I have ordered other units, and today another one came in. Today, my TurboGrafx-16 Mini. Let's have a little look of this little guy. These really feel heavy and substantial, but let's have a look and see what we got in here. Now the game selections themselves, between that, the Core Grafx Mini, and even the PC Engine Mini, are going to be mostly the same. I think only the Japanese version of the PC Engine has a couple of different games that they swapped out. But other than that, the game selection is pretty much the same. So you don't need to buy one of these, and a PC Engine. I do it because I'm collecting them, so that's for me. But as far as the games go, they're all pretty much going to be the same. But in any case, let's open this little guy up and take a look at the NEC, which is now owned by Konami, TurboGrafx-16. Let's have a look. Okay, so here we have the Konami TurboGrafx-16 Mini. That was originally released by NEC back in the day. And you can see how big the box is when you compare it to, say, the Core Grafx box. It's obviously a little bit bigger, but I think between the two machines, the TurboGrafx is going to be substantially larger. Now the box itself looks pretty good. It's fairly accurate to the way it was back in the day. They are missing the young gentleman who was on the box, which I assume is due to licensing. You probably can't show him anymore. But the box itself still has the original look of it. Even right down, I like this part right here on the top. I remember this. The next video game generation right on there. And of course they have the TurboGrafx-16 on here. Again, there's always a lot of controversy with this because they were saying there was a 16-bit generation machine. In reality, I always judge a machine by its processor. And the TurboGrafx-16 had a modified 6502 like they had in the NES. It's faster, much faster. But so that to me is an 8-bit system. But they did have a 16-bit graphics engine, and that graphics engine blew away the NES, and I think in a lot of ways surpassed the Sega Genesis, definitely in colors and the way it handles certain effects. But the TurboGrafx, PC Engine, and Core Grafx, they really didn't have like parallax scrolling. They had tricks that were able to get that done, where I think the Sega Genesis had that built in. But this had many, many more colors on it, and it just had, I think, a better sound system and graphics. Again, it comes down to your opinion, and that is my opinion. But the box itself looks really, really good. It definitely reminds me of the old system in here. And again, they're showing the games on the back. And the games are pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, going to be the same as you would have gotten on your Core Grafx here. So don't expect to be playing anything different if you got one system over the other. But I'm sure this will be hacked at some point. You could be adding a lot more games to it. They do include an HDMI cable. They include a power cable, one controller, the unit, and an HDMI cable. That's it, no power brick. Power brick you have to get on your own, but I'm going to bet, like everyone else out there, you have one lying around somewhere. So that's it. The box, I definitely am digging the box. I did like, that box, but there's nothing screams more of the 90s than this TurboGrafx-16 box. I mean, it just really does pop. It popped in the store back in the day when I got mine, I believe at Babbage's, or could have been, no, it's definitely Babbage's, not Sofa, etc. And I got this. I think I paid $189 back then. I mean, it's been a while. And it came with Keith Courage in Alpha Zones, which was an okay game. But enough of that. Let's take a look at this little guy in here and see what we have. So we got to look around, and we have a little spot right here. We got to try and pull this open. And the box came in good condition, very good condition. It was packed very well, so I can't complain about that. So let's get this thing out of its box. All right, that took a while, but here we go. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, we put our box back here. So once again, we get a manual. Now, the original manual that came with the TurboGrafx-16 was in color. This one's in black and white. And again, just basic information here. Nothing too substantial. Just basic ways how to connect it and you know, set up with the games. So I'll put that aside right here. And we do as we had with the other one. We have our controller here. Let's take this one out. And that brings back, I wouldn't say the memories, I've just been playing it the other day. And the touchpad still feels a bit on the stiff side. A lot more firmer. We got our turbo switch buttons on here. And we have an 8-foot, which is really nice, an 8-foot cord here, which is really nice. But the controller really did a nice job with it. Right here. And we'll compare it to my TurboGrafx-16, the original one, but that still looks really good. Put that down for a second. And then, of course, we're going to have our console in here. Oh, boy. And we do have, you know, our HDMI cable right here. Put that back in. I'm not going to really be needing that. And there is a power cord right here, but no actual power pack. So it's going to not worry about that. Put that back in. And let's get this thing out of its packaging here, which is, there we go. It doesn't want to come out just like before. Oh, baby. Look at that. Can't even get that in the full shot of the camera. I'm too close. But that looks really, really nice. They do have the power switch here with the little tab that comes over. And I'm going to have my same two complaints. I wish they had a slot in here so you can actually put in a fake Q card. And again, I know people don't like me saying this, but I do wish there was only one USB port here, just to make it more like the original. But I do understand, you know, the two ports. But for the $100, I think they should have given you a second controller. If you can have the two jacks on here, you should have given two controllers on here. Just my opinion. Player 1's on the top, player 2's on the bottom. It's got the cover on here, which has the TurboGrafx logo on the back, which is very, very nice. It's got a spot here for your power cords to come out. And to pull this thing off, it's got to lift this little tab up, and it unlocks, and it comes right off. And then we have our, that's why I kind of wish that they actually made a CD-ROM attachment that added more games. Because you got these interfaces back here, you just want to connect that to a machine. In any case, back here, not a lot going on. You have HDMI right there, which is just as inconvenient as it was back in the day. And our power, it says it's over here. So where is our power? The record's coming in here. There it is. See, it's really hidden. Oh, it's all the way in there. It's hard to even see. So they made it as inconvenient as possible. I don't know why they couldn't put the power here with the HDMI. They stuck the power in here. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to see. I'm trying to get a better shot of it. But the power cord is actually right down in here. Couldn't they put it on this side? So you have to deal with trying to get under this? I'm not happy with that, I guess. And then you would simply click this thing right back on. So let's compare this. I can't look how big it is. I can't get it in the whole camera shot. It's huge. Gotta go all the way back here. I want to grab my Core Grafx and my original TurboGrafx just so you can see the different sizes of them. Can I move these little guys to get a little bit better shot? So here is the TurboGrafx-16 Mini, obviously, and the Core Graf Mini, and the two controllers here. Now you can see the Core Graf Mini, you know, it's basically always was kind of half of the TurboGrafx-16. You could take two of these to make one. The thinking back in the day with marketing, anyway, was America thought things bigger was better.
It's back. Big is back because bigger is better. 6000 SUX, an American tradition.
And although it's not a bad looking machine, I definitely prefer the original smaller versions just because it's so powerful in such a small form factor. Now just to give you an idea, of the real size differences, I'm going to take these controllers out of the way for a minute, let's move them to the side, and I'm going to pull this out for a second, and I'm going to pull this out for a second. So I'm going to put in my original TurboGrafx-16 right here. See, it's still hard to fit them in the shot because they're so big. And you can see the size of the, again, the Core Graph Mini. So it's almost, I'd say again, about 80% the size. It's a little bit smaller, but not by much. You know, pull this down. Now let's take a look at the TurboGrafx-16 Mini, and you can see, you know, it's pretty close. These are smaller, but not by much. Now what I'll do is I'm going to take the unit out of the CD-ROM here, which you have to go underneath, and there's a locking mechanism. I'm going to unlock it. And then this should simply pull right out. There we go. So we could take our CD-ROM unit, put that aside. So here's the original TurboGrafx-16 unit. And I'll pull this little back plate off of here, just to keep them the same. And you can see, you know, the size is pretty close. And they did a really nice job of pretty much doing everything right. We have the little yellow dots there for the antenna out in channel 2 and 3. We have the spot here for, you know, the power. Now underneath, this is my other, I just don't understand this here. Now in the back, we have our, you know, our interface for the CD-ROM or anything else back there. And that's where you plug in the power, or you would normally put in the power on this side here. So on the Mini, we do have the HDMI, which is right here, which is fine. But the power, they're kind of stuck in a really weird spot under here. It's in this spot here. Now, they could have put it on this side. There's no reason why they couldn't have. I just don't get why it's put there. It's a little hard to just get in there. I just think that's not a smart idea with that. So if there's anything I can complain about this thing already, it's really just where they put the power jack. Is it a big deal? No. But you have all this empty space over here, and you can put it in and not have a problem with it. When you look at the Core Graph Mini, you have your HDMI and power right there. Piece of cake. But on this one, that's okay. But why do I got to go under here? Well, basically because if you look at the Core Graph Mini, you know, it's just pretty much in the same, there we go, it's pretty much in the same spot. So I guess that's why they did it. But I don't know. I just don't like it. That I just don't like. Guess I couldn't help it, but I'm not a fan of that. So I'm just going to plug this thing in here and take a look at it really quickly. I'm probably going to go through a lot of the gameplay on it because I already did that with the Core Graph. I just want to basically show the differences between, you know, the design aesthetics between those two little guys. And how I really wish they did not include any CD-ROM games, and they made an attachment like this to take your Mini, you know, and you connect your Mini to it, and then you have your CD-ROM games. I don't understand why these manufacturers don't think of these things, because this would allow you to add many more games, CD games, to the unit. They could then put in just the Hue cards on here. Again, just my opinion, but I really think that Sega and NEC missed the boat on that one. I think they could have really added some good content, sold an expansion that would sell additional games. But in any case, this is all we got. So let's try this up. And the cool thing now is I actually have one. Let's go back over. I have one. And technically 2 controllers now, because they will work. Now, originally the US version would not work directly with the Japanese controllers because they use different sized DINs. Of course, the Japanese had a smaller DIN to add the joystick, and the American version had a huge one. So here it's not a problem, so they should both work. In any case, let's hook this up to the TV and see how it plays. And we can see we have the same exact menu you'd have on the Core Graph Mini. So basically you just find the case aesthetics. If you want to get the TurboGrafx-16 look, you're going to buy the TurboGrafx-16 Mini. Or if you like the smaller Core Graph, you can buy that. But the game selection between the two are going to be exactly the same. And there's a good amount of games on here to play. Of course, I'm sure this will be hacked at some point. But it defaults, again, as you can see here, to the TurboGrafx-16 Mini graphic interface. But we can go right down here to the lower right, click on the PC Engine, and it loads the Core Graph. And you'll have the games, pretty much Japanese release games. And the only downside I've been noticing here, some of these games are definitely playable, but there are games like, you know, Bonk, The original Bonk is very playable. But a game like Ease, the Japanese version doesn't make much sense if you're speaking English, but you do have the English version to play. So this it's added, but you can't really play it unless you can read Japanese. That's the only thing. Some of these games here do require knowing Japanese. Other ones don't. Like, Ghouls and Ghosts here would be fine. And a lot of these games are, again, playable. Gradius over here is fine, and Salamander's fine. So, again, it just depends on what you want to get. Here's Snatcher, but both versions on here are in Japanese. Well, it's only one version, actually, just this one. And it's in Japanese, so you can't really do too much with it. But I'm going to try R-Type again, just because I played that in my last video. So we'll be able to just compare the two. They should be completely identical between all three of these. So let me find R-Type in here. There it is. And I'm going to launch it. I definitely like the little PC Engine guys walking around. The load time is extremely fast. Hit run. And we'll see how the joystick here is. Again, on the other one, it seems a little stiff. And to be honest, this one feels the same. So it's probably just whatever rubber they're using inside these controllers. Again, I'm sure it's something you get used to, but I definitely died a few times because I pressed up and my other machine would have went up just fine, and with this stiffer pad, it did not. Oh, right in the face. Well, definitely plays like the other one. I'm dying already. Okay, R-Type's just fine. Let's try a different game. So now in here, if I wanted to, I can save a state. I'll do it for now just to save it. So I'll hit save. And on the original PC Engine and the Core Graph, you could have bought a little cartridge that went into where the CD-ROM attaches. That really just added RAM. And that's what I'm using right here. So I'm going to save it. So there we go. So I can always come back to this if I want to. So you see the background here. Let me go out of the game. I want to exit. Do you want to reset the game? No, I do not. I want to exit. So I'm going to go to return to main menu. Yes. So here's the background there, little controllers. But you can change that. You go into settings here. Go to wallpaper. I actually prefer this one now, so I'm going to use this one. Let's try another game. Let's try something else I was playing here that I was enjoying. This is actually a pretty fun game. I've never played this before. It's actually a fun little game. So I'm actually kind of glad they included it because I never would have played this game before. Chu-Man Fu. It's kind of a puzzle game. So basically there are some balls you need to put on the right tiles while avoiding the enemies. There they are. Those are the bad guys. So I'm going to take a ball, I can kick it with the A button, and I can grab it with the secondary button. Ooh, come on, pick up that ball. Come on guys, let me smash you. It's a fun little game. Someone's not touching. Oh, you're in the wrong spot? No, you're in the right spot. There we go. So it's a fun little puzzle game. And that's one of the good things about these. These are things you probably wouldn't have tried or bought in the store if it didn't look interesting. Then you play it here and you find out it's a pretty good game. Sometimes the control can be a little wonky, but you get used to it after a while. Ah, no, don't touch him! Oh, that's a talk about the joysticks, a little stiff. That's happened more than once. That's a fun little game. And again, you can hit the buttons here, go to save state, save where you left off, and go back to our main menu. Now, we're going to play Space Harrier here, and I will tell Cool Toy right now, I've been playing Space Harrier here, and I will definitely say that the Sega Genesis did a much better job here with this game. I felt that the music was not that good, and the visual effects also weren't that good. I think the Sega Genesis handled this Sega title much better. I do like the PC Engine sound effects more, but now when it comes to this game, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't seem like it's doing a very good job with the scaling. I mean, the Sega Genesis doesn't have it either, but I just felt that it did a better job. The music was better, and it just seems like a better, more polished game than this one here. I want to go out of here real quick. Go to main menu. Oop. I want to go back to the main menu. There we go. Yes, thank you. Of course, you have Ease, Bonk's Revenge. A lot of good games on here. Arizonk. So again, there's not going to be too much difference between this and the Core Graph video I already showed you. The one thing I will say, one game I do want to show you, I'm going to go to the PC Engine version. Bomberman 94 is a really fun game. One player or more players. Gotta find it in here. Here we go. It's a very fun game. If you have 5 people to play with a TurboGrafx release or a USB hub, very good game. Even as a single player, it's a fun game. Control this game is very simple, but you gotta pay attention. You put a bomb in the wrong spot and you are done. Gotta try and find additional weapons sometimes, but that's okay. It's a very enjoyable game. It also could be frustrating. If you're playing out all these different bombs and you don't put it, oh, see, like right there. See, I pressed up and my controller went to the left. Ugh. I understand I'm not the best player, but when stuff like that happens, when you didn't do it wrong, but the controller did it anyway, it doesn't make me very happy. Of course, you can go in right now if I wanted to, and again do a save state like so. I save the game, go back to the game, and let's say I blow myself up here. I died. I can always go back to my save state, load, and now magically I am back. Almost there. Ah, get my coins! Oh! Not a bad job. So let me give you some quick final thoughts of the TurboGrafx-16 Mini versus the Core Graf Mini. So what's my final thoughts? Well, to be honest, I had this TurboGrafx-16 at launch time. Not this one, it's the Mini, but the original one. And I had a lot of fun with it, especially with the CD-ROM games. I thought it was a great little system. Quirky, like anything else, but I do like the quirky little systems. And this one is very, very nice, very true to the original. I'm not going to do a full in-depth review of this one right now. I kind of showed a lot on the Core Graf already, and this is basically the same thing in a different shell, quite literally. The game selection, the menu that's in here is in here. You can select the two by picking it on the menu. So there's not too much more to say. The one thing I will say is, from an aesthetics point, I do like it because they did a very nice job of capturing the design, but the way they built it for the PC Engine and the Core Graf meant the HDMI port had to go here, and then hidden under this little spot here is where the power goes. And I don't like it. I thought it would be a pain, and it was a pain getting the power in there. Once it's in, you're not going to worry about it. It'll stick out the back, I suppose. But that's something I'm going to gripe about. But I do like the look of the machine very much. The box it came in. Again, for the price of entry, this would be $100 when it gets released in the US. I paid more than that. I got it off of the same gentleman I got my Core Graf from, which was Detroit Fat Boy, I believe. I'll put a link down in the description. But if you're looking to play these games, you don't need to buy all three. Again, the Japanese PC Engine will have 2 other games in it, but they're in Japanese anyway. Other than that, just buy the one that you like the design of. Unless you're a collector like me, in which case then you're going to get all of them just to have them. But there's no point in buying one of these and buying one of these, because the games are going to be the same. Now, if I had a choice to only buy one, I probably would buy the Core Graf, just because I didn't have one of those back in the day. And I'll said it before, I'll say it again. The controllers themselves right now feel a little bit on the stiff side, so that's causing me a little problems in the gameplay. As you all know, watching my channel, I'm not the best anyway, but a lot of these times I'm dying is not from my screw-ups. It's the controller not going the way I want it to go. And I do wish they would have thought about this and put one of these USBs in the front, in the back, so you can add these expansion modules like the original machine had. I thought it would have been awesome to add a Sega CD attachment and play the Sega CD games, or 32X attachment and play 32X games. And this has a CD-ROM attachment. You could have plugged this into the back and added a ton of ISOs. So I think that was a huge missed opportunity. Now technically, they do have these ports on the back, the power port, and a lot of times we can put in a special USB connector, which lets you plug in USB flash drives, like I know that people are doing now with the Sega Genesis right now, like Patton Plays and Restalgia. Show you how to add games that way. So I guess that's possible, but it just won't be as easy as just taking it, clicking it into a USB-A style connector. But in any case, I'm kind of rambling at this point. They're still very nice. I don't think you go wrong purchasing it. The game selection on both of them are the same, and they're fun. So definitely just pick the one that you want to get. I think you'll be kind of happy with it. That's it. Thanks for watching. When my PC Engine comes, I'll do a review of that and then kind of do a triage of all 3 of these. Again, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to watch my show. And I wish you all the very best. And remember, no matter which system you pick, game on.
at the Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.